I'm honestly trying to process the response to my last video. If you haven't seen it, I recommend checking it out. But just seeing so many of you in the comments sharing your own struggles and finding each other in that noise, that was incredible. And I did see a handful of people say roughly the same thing, and that's, I want that peace, but I don't think I can have it because of one app. Today, I want to speak on that and answer some questions because I was there too. There were definitely some apps that I thought I could not live without, but I can. And I want to show you that you're not as trapped by these apps as you think. So let's figure this out together. But before we get into the how, I want to get into the why. Because as soon as I cut these apps out of my life, I realized I had so much more time in my day and I wanted to fill it with something meaningful. So first off, I took the same philosophy I had with my phone and applied it to everything else. So I canceled everything. No more Sptfy, no more Netflix or Hulu. I didn't really have the other ones, so that didn't really matter. But I wanted to own my media and not just rent it. I wanted my music and movies to be something that I intentionally put on. And plus, let's be honest, with this, there are no ads. But there's definitely something that streaming services don't have that I used to love as a kid, and that's the special features on the DVD. I'm talking about the stuff that really makes you feel like you own the movie, right? I mean, why am I playing Far, Far Away Idol on the Shrek 2 DVD right now?
And the next, Far, Far Away Idol is...
Look, I don't know, but it's 1,000 times better than scrolling through an algorithm. And I mean, be honest, tell me, would you rather have 10 movies to choose from for movie night or 1,000 movies? I think you know where I'm going with this because, of course, it's the paradox of choice. You know, having 1,000 movies to choose from is way more stressful than just having 10. Even if you do find something you like, there's bound to be some regret and that feeling of, oh, something else could have been better, you know? But you can cut that dissatisfaction tremendously by having your own curated collection. When I pick a DVD off my shelf, I'm not wondering if there's something better out there, you know? I'm just watching what I have and I'm enjoying it. And, you know, if I do want something new, I'll just go to the thrift store and I'll either find a movie that I know I love or I'll find one I've never seen and make an experience out of it. Here's the thing, Sptfy is the ultimate paradox of choice, right? Because it's so amazing having every song ever recorded in your pocket. And I'll get to that. But having the physical disc, it forces you to be intentional and it makes you listen to songs that you normally would have skipped. Take this album, for example. It's Play Deep by The Outfield. And like a lot of people, the only song I knew was Your Love. But I put this CD on one day when I was cooking and I just let it roll. You know, I didn't skip any songs. I didn't let an algorithm tell me which song was the most popular. I just let it play and I realized that this album is amazing. You know, there's so many songs on here that I fell in love with. And that would not have happened on Sptfy. Not to mention the inserts, the little booklets that come with the CDs, they make you feel so much closer to the artist. Just look at this album, Jericho by the band. This booklet has so many pictures of the band on tour and in the studio. It's just things that you would not see unless you bought this CD at the time. And I know you can see a band's pictures on Instagram or Facebook or wherever now, but there's just something special about holding this booklet and seeing them in this format. It's like you're holding a piece of history in your hands, you know, and that's just special. This is the way that they intended me to experience their music. With that said, I told you I would come back to it. I know that it's easy to listen to whatever song you want at whatever moment, and believe me, I still do occasionally. Here's the workaround. When there's a specific song I want to hear and I don't own the CD, I go to YouTube Music on my desktop and I use the Brave browser. And for those of you who don't know, the Brave browser blocks all ads so you can listen with no distractions. Little editing note here, you can do this on your phone as well if you do have a smartphone. I used to do this on my Samsung, but I downloaded the Brave browser, went to YouTube Music, and saved that site as an app on my home screen. So you can still listen to music ad-free on your phone if you want. For instance, one of my favorite bands, Wild Party, recently dropped a new song called Mr. Good Feelings. I did not wait around. I went straight to YouTube Music. And I know some of you are probably thinking, how is that supporting them? Here's my take. Streaming services pay artists very little. So if I buy a CD or buy a shirt from a band, you know, that supports them in a way that streaming really never could. And as an artist myself, I know exactly how much that direct support matters. So I will always support. But beyond the logistics, there's also the experience. There was one night that I thought about the song Blood by the Middle East, and I put it on with the full intention of just sitting and listening to the music, the lyrics. I just closed my eyes and listened, no distractions. And in that moment, everything I heard felt like it was being played live, like they were in the room with me. You know, the song starts out very soft, but around the 3-minute mark, the sound really explodes and fills the room. You know, the trumpet, bells, vocal harmonies, and right before it really kicks in, there's one little note that the trumpet does where it sounds like it's warming up and getting ready to kick in, you know? And I remember I heard this and I said out loud to myself, here we go. And then it hit me. When it kicked in, I could not help but start sobbing. It felt that powerful in that moment. And I absolutely love when a song can do that. If I would have just been playing this in the background from some playlist, it would not have hit me the same. And that's a huge realization I had with being intentional. It makes you feel again. I'm almost ready to tell you about the apps I thought I couldn't live without, but first I wanted to tell you something that I think is very important. And this can be if you use a flip phone or smartphone, whatever. The point is, I'm texting way less now with this phone, which I told you before, but it has also made my relationships way better. There are days when me and my girlfriend are both at work and we barely talk. And this used to feel like a disconnect, but now when I get home and see her, I feel that spark of like, oh, I missed you, you know, tell me about your day. I want to hear your voice. It just feels so much better. You know, we traded that constant check-in for a real, genuine, intentional connection. And when you're talking to someone constantly, it kind of takes away from that novelty. Even hanging out with a group of friends, you know, if you're all caught up in the group chat, you don't really have as much to talk about in person, I think. And it might sound paradoxical, but I do believe that our connections will improve when we disconnect here. Now, with all of that said, let me tell you about the apps I thought I couldn't live without and how I proved myself wrong. And I'm hoping this can change the minds of some of the people that thought they definitely couldn't do it. I personally deal with a lot of anxiety, and one of my biggest what ifs was my banking app. I thought, you know, what if I get hacked and I don't know until the next day or two? I need that notification in my pocket. But I realized a notification does not stop a hack. I'd still have to call the bank to fix it. So I saved my bank's phone number as a contact here, and then I went online and set my alerts to text message. So if my balance drops too low or if a big charge comes out, I'll get a text message on my flip phone. So I still have that peace of mind. I just don't need a smartphone for it. Then there was the message problem. I got the Cat S22 Flip specifically because it said it came with Google Messenger, and I thought that I could connect that to my desktop like I did with my Samsung. Well, the phone came, and I quickly realized that's not the case. This version does not support the desktop link. At first, of course, I was frustrated, but I had come too far to send the phone back. So what did I do? I just got good at typing on a tiny screen. And honestly, this has helped me out a lot because I think that if I could text from my desktop, I would be over communicating. I realized that for me at least, easier communication leads to unnecessary communication. Now I just say what I need to say and get back to my life. So it's worked out better than I planned. But now some people bring up some very good concerns in the comments, and I want to speak directly to them. Like I said, I got the S22 Flip because it allows some smart features. So, you know, if I were to get lost somewhere and had absolutely no way how to get home, I could still use Google Maps if I needed it. It's small and laggy, but it still works. So, you know, if you get a phone like this or a Sunbeam phone, you can still have those things if you really need them, while still distancing yourself from social media or whatever else is hooking you in. But like I said, I hear your concerns. For many of you, apps like WhatsApp are not a distraction, but they are a lifeline to a family abroad. And I know that I cannot fully relate to this, so I'm not here to give you a manual or tell you to cut off your family. This is not a minimalist competition. And I know it's easy to say from my perspective, because my strategy would be move the conversation to a desktop or laptop, whether it's WhatsApp web or, as Mango Snob pointed out in the comments, Snapchat web. Using a browser version changes the game. When you move an app from your pocket to a computer, it creates a level of intentional friction, and you're way less likely to spend hours hunched over at a desk. It stops the urgent reply and forces you to engage on your own terms. But that said, if an app serves a vital purpose, especially when it comes to family, then absolutely keep it. I mean, at the end of the day, this is about making sure that your tools are working for you and not the other way around. Speaking of tools, lastly, I want to talk about all of the physical things I use now instead of apps. I did see some comments talking about this, so let's get into it. Number 1, physical timers. I have a timer in the kitchen and one on my desk. I use one for cooking and one to remind me to stand up and stretch. Number 2, a field notebook. I keep a small notebook with me at all times. I keep one with me at work, one in my car, my nightstand, my desk. If I think of something I need to look up later, I write it down. If I think of a lyric for a song I'm writing, or even if I want to stop and journal, I take the time to physically write it all down. Number 3, a flashlight. This one might seem silly, but I seriously did not have my own flashlight at home for a while. The light is much better than the one on your phone anyway. Number 4, my favorite, a dedicated camera. For this, I bought a Camp Snap camera, and it has made things so much more interesting. Just like a disposable camera, you can't see what your pictures look like until later. So I take this with me to an event or on a trip, and when I get home, I see some great pictures. And, of course, some bad ones. But it really makes taking pictures so much more enjoyable. And finally, number 5, the physical alarm clock. Placed on the other side of the bedroom. At the end of the day, all of these physical items, the CDs, the timers, the notebooks, they're not just gadgets. They're boundaries. They are the things that allow me to keep my life in the real world instead of losing it to a screen. And I'm not saying you have to go buy a vintage CD player or some camera to find peace. But I am saying that if your phone is taking more than it's giving, you have permission to push back. It isn't a competition to see who can be the most offline. It's a choice to be the most present, because once you stop letting your phone be your entire world, you finally have the space to actually live in it. I'll see you in the next one.